Hey viewers, my name is Martín Caballero. I'm the managing editor at BevNET.com. I'm here at the final day of Natural Products Expo West 2019 in Anaheim, California. We're just going to do a quick recap of some of the major products, trends, things we saw at the show. I'm here with John Craven, the CEO of BevNET, and probably a good place to start would be CBD, maybe the biggest thing to come out of this show in terms of trends.
For sure. I mean, I think it was night and day from what we saw last year, which was like, I don't even know if we really saw CBD booths the way that we did, but clearly is having an impact on, I think, every, beverage category for sure, and a lot of food categories too. But, at the show we saw, a lot of companies sort of teasing new lines that they're going to do. Companies like a Vita Coco even getting into it with a CBD coconut water that they're launching this July. So it's just something we're going to see a ton of this year. I think companies are feeling like they kind of have to at least test the waters with it, but there were tons of booths here for CBD suppliers, and it was just everywhere.
Yeah, it seemed like every company we talked to, almost everyone, had either a CBD SKU or had at least explored behind the scenes the possibility of doing that. It's certainly interesting. It's so versatile. It can be in a bunch of different drinks as sort of a value-added functional proposition. But I thought it was really interesting, too, with shots. Shots seem to be pretty prevalent at the show just in general, but CBD seems like it works really well in that shot format, or hemp extract, however you want to do it. Suja had one, Lumen had one, numerous other ones. It seems like that sort of functional sort of dosage works really well in that format, and that may be a good sort of entry point for a lot of brands working in this space.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we saw a couple of other companies that were, again, teasing, shots that they were going to do. There's a company called Hemp-y that's kind of a pivoted company that used to make MCT smoothies that's going into a shot format. Also saw a company teasing a sparkling, or not teasing, but they've recently launched a sparkling beverage that has THC and CBD in it. So obviously not sampling that, just the virgin version of it. But it seems like a lot of people in the industry that I talk to are, they realize it's a trend. There's no going back. It's not like this is when everybody had an acai drink, right? But they also kind of don't really know where it's going to go. I think some people express skepticism over kind of brands that are all CBD as opposed to CBD just being like, another function a la, I don't know, energy or focus or something like that. So it'll for sure be neat just to see, where this stuff goes this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a good point because I think obviously being in the industry, we see this stuff all the time, but I think the average consumer still has a lot of sort of education to do and learning about, what CBD does, why do they need it. So it should be interesting. I think it's always interesting when you see a lot of people doing, following maybe a certain ingredient or something at one show. In one way, it's clearly a trend, and the other way, if you want to be kind of cautious about it, there's probably going to be some shaking out in terms of who's going to continue on with this, who's maybe kind of flirting with entering the category. So we'll have to see next year if this continues on.
To your point, I think, a lot of the companies that I talked to, a lot of CBD companies, it was like everyone had kind of a slightly different explanation of, what the right, dose was, whether it was full spectrum or isolate that was the right thing. It's really, there's seriously some stuff to figure out there. I think the other thing is just that it seems like some companies believe CBD is this sort of cure-all for, their product woes, which I think it's hard to believe that a product that's on shaky ground will be fixed by adding a CBD extension to it. But, who knows? We'll see.
Another big thing we saw at the show here, another continuation of a trend we've been seeing is oat milk. It feels like oat milk has been dominant in terms of that plant-based, hot product. Coffee being a big sort of reason for that. Chameleon had a new oat milk blend. La Colombe was sampling some of the oat milk draft lattes that they serve in their cafes. Rise had a really good oat milk on its own. So that I kind of similar feelings with CBD in the sense that certainly it's easy to taste, especially when you have it with the coffee, why oat milk is so appealing. At the same time, I feel like there will be kind of a little bit of a shakeout because it seems like there's got to be some variation in terms of what people are doing with it.
Yeah, I think, and we saw Quaker's Oat Beverage here and a bunch of other ones, Pop and Bottle. I don't know if you mentioned that one, but, I think every one of those that I tasted, like, it was better than its dairy counterparts. So, I'd almost say that compared with CBD, where it might not make your beverage successful, it seems like any of these companies that are switching from, dairy or nut milk or coconut milk to it, have experienced, a positive reaction to it. And, it's interesting. Like it was something I talked to a lot of different people about. And, I almost feel like once the, supply is out there, it's like, why are we drinking nut milk? I mean, it seems like there's literally no reason to do that anymore. Like oat milk's cheaper, environmental story's better, tastes better, and no one's allergic to it. So I just kind of see that as something that will really be like a game changer. But yeah, I mean, it's right now something that, a lot of companies are just trying to get in that game. There's still that, notion of Oatly, the biggest player in the space, having, supply issues or whatnot. But, lots of people are figuring it out and getting into the market.
Yeah, it should be interesting over the next couple of months, too. I know Oatly's new facility is going to be coming online soon, so hopefully they should be addressing some of those shortage issues, and, might be poised for even more oat milk explosion, after that, so.
For sure.
I want to touch real quick about kombucha, definitely one of the biggest beverage categories we've seen over the years in this natural channel, and, it seems like that's really sort of turned a page or is really sort of maturing in interesting ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting in that you've got these companies that are all kind of like, they're seeing other opportunities out there. And, a company like Revive, they've got a shelf-stable, can-based offering that I would say it's almost like an upgrade from a seltzer as opposed to like kombucha light. And then you have, products like Health Aid that, they're going in an 8-ounce bottle, multi-packs, have these new sort of more mainstream-oriented flavors. And of course, there's Brew Doctor, who, the cans are doing really well for them. They've got new Tallboy cans, some new flavors there. And, it just seems like these companies are maturing, but they're kind of not all after the same exact thing. So that's for sure pretty neat.
I agree. I remember a couple years ago when I first started, alcohol content was a big concern. Sugar content, still a concern, but it seems like there's been a collective effort in terms of, the R&D side and also just consumers understanding a little bit more about the product. It seems like they've been able to, as a category, to collectively move a little bit past some of those issues, and those don't seem to be coming up as frequently as they did in the past, and I think that just opens it up for more people to enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're certainly learning that there's demand out there and, driving the price point lower, going more for like, some of the mass, consumers out there, that's kind of within sight now, whereas, 5 years ago, it was still this thing that I think it had a really long path ahead of it, but, 5 years later, it's made a lot of progress.
It's amazing how you can put something in a can and completely sort of change the way people think about a product like that and just really open their minds.
Well, I mean, they're obviously learning what, the craft beer category is seeing. So I think, that to me is no surprise. I mean, said that last year when we first really started seeing canned products and, going to see more of them. I mean, there were some smaller companies, Better Booch, for example, that's, been in cans and has like a rebrand. It just seems like one of those things that it for sure will take them to the next level.
All right, John, thanks for joining me, and you can get all our coverage from Natural Products Expo West 2019 over the next couple weeks. We will be on BevNET.com, obviously, Taste Radio, Nosh.com, plenty of coverage for you from the show. Thanks so much for joining us, and I'll see you next time.